Now, I want to begin today by telling you how much I love to hug small things. I really love hugging small things. And I do realize it's a strange sentence. I didn't know really how to tell you this, except to show you a picture of the kind of small things I like to hug. So this is my daughter, Evelina, when she was, I don't even know. I always go by rolls on the legs, just to kind of get a picture of just exactly how old. So I guess maybe one there, one little over one. But I really loved when my daughters were little. I would just kind of yell out to Evelina, for example. I just yell out, and I could be anywhere. We could be outside, we could be in the house, it didn't really matter. I just yell out, and I go, ground hug. That's what I just said. I say, ground hug. And wherever she was, she would just like drop to the ground. Now, I would kind of have to come find her, and I would come find her, and then when she was dropped to the ground, I would just go up and smother her. Not smother her, that sounds worse than I wanted to, but I would just smother her with hugs and love. And I'd give her kisses, and we'd wrestle around sometimes, and she loved it, and I loved it, and it was just awesome. And as she curled up her little body, I could just kind of see her just kind of rest in my arms. And sometimes we'd just give like a 1-minute hug. And by the way, she wasn't really hugging, she was just like this, and I was kind of hugging her. And she would laugh, and it was fun, and she's in town for the weekend, so I tried to do this last night now that she's almost 20, and she did not do it. She would not, she refused. I was like, all right, that's all right. Because I found this thing that I could ground hug anytime I wanted. It wasn't my daughter, because they all get older, which, it's a good news, bad news scenario. So I wanted to think, how do I find something that's roughly in that like 12 to 15 pound range that would just go to the ground and let me hug them? So that is why I got cats. I love, Franklin is there on the left, Gilbert is there on the right. I love giving ground hugs to my cats. Because at any time, they might just be laying there, and I'm like, oh, this is great, I can just come down, and I can hug them and love them. Now, I have one cat who does not like the ground hugs. I'll just be totally honest with you. And so, what I have to do is, the cat is here, I have to like very gently start to, right on the back, start to push it down, and finally it gives in, it goes down, and then it curls its little legs up, and then I'm able to hug it and give it all the love. I have no idea if in the mind he's like, I'm gonna eat your face off tonight whenever I get a chance because I hate these. But I love every minute of the ground hugs. And when I read the second full line of Psalm 23, I kind of think of my little kids, my cats, and just this sense of like, just relaxing in something bigger than you. I remember my daughter, when we had talked about those little ground hugs, because they remember these, we just talked about how there was just something about this like, oh, I feel protected and loved and covered. Like for some reason, things are just okay and better. It feels warm. And so when we read Psalm 23, which we've been in, the Lord is my shepherd, we spoke on that. I shall not want, we spoke about contentedness. And then today we go to, He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. The beauty and kind of simplicity of sheep lying down in the field. There's something beautiful about watching it, kind of seeing it. What would it look like for them to go, oh, this is enough that I can lie down and I can feel okay? To calm our restless hearts. A reminder that what we're speaking of is the good shepherd who creates space for sheep to feel this level of comfort. If you don't remember that little phrase, it comes from Jesus in John 10. I am the good shepherd. A reminder theologically, one of the 7 places in John where Jesus uses the phrase I am to describe himself. Again, Jesus putting his divinity out there. I am, the great I am also the good shepherd. I am God, and I am here to shepherd you. I have spent a lot of times the last 9 months studying what exactly a sheep herder or a shepherd does to care for the sheep under their care, and it takes a lot to care for sheep. I really understand why, there's very few people who do this in the world today. Because how a shepherd helps sheep feel comfortable is a really big deal. Because sheep in general need a high level of comfort to lie down, to kind of go to the ground. When a flock of sheep is restless, or anxious, or agitated, They do not lie down. In fact, they kind of run around a little bit. They worry internally. You can just kind of feel it. Things don't really work for them. They get a little bit upset with other sheep in the herd. And it's not that much different for us as people. We get restless and anxious and agitated. We get disturbed. We don't do real well when we don't feel the calm of the shepherd. He maketh me lie down in green pastures. For sheep to feel that level of calmness, there has to have some level of inner freedom that they can trust the person who is looking out for them. It's the reason when I would yell out ground up to my daughters and they would go down to the ground and they knew they could trust me. I'm coming in with love and care and compassion. It is the good shepherd who provides what is needed. And there's a few things that are always needed for sheep. The first thing sheep need to kind of feel is a sense of trust, because sheep are a fearful bunch. So they need freedom from this fear. And this timid bunch of sheep, it's kind of wild to watch. You can see these things on videos. There will be an entire herd of sheep, and they will stampede at the mere sight of just a small rabbit coming by. Like, they're all just restless, they're all resting, and then a little tiny rabbit just comes, boom, comes right by. They all will get up and just start running, like stampeding. It's actually kind of scary. It's like, what is going on here? The only thing that ends up calming the herd is the presence of the shepherd. When the shepherd comes in, they calm, everything kind of settles down. In the Christian life, in your Christian life, there is not a substitute out there for a keen awareness that the shepherd is near us. If you wonder why I get up here on Sundays, why we have music, why we do this on Sundays, it is to provide a place, a base for you to come to and go, that's right. There is a God who loves me, and there are other people doing the same thing. And then we are supposed to take that into our week and go, I am keenly aware that God is involved in my life. When we start to lose connection with that, we think we are alone in the world doing what we need to do. And so we start relying on other people, and sometimes other people are unreliable. And so we get even more hurt and more lonely and more stressed out. Having a keen awareness that God is in your life is a big deal. That is why we have Lent. Lent is this 40-day reminder that the shepherd has never abandoned you. That God loves you very much. That you are not alone in your fears. You are not alone in your insecurities. The places right now that you sit here and you feel vulnerable, God knows, and God will not abandon you. The times when you feel like, maybe figuratively or literally, curling up and hiding, going to the ground because you don't know where to trust or where to go. That there is a father, a shepherd, a good shepherd, who wants to come around you and surround you, wants to hold you. There is nothing like that presence that can dispel fear, panic, the terror of the unknown. And I get it. We live in a very uncertain world. And we live in very uncertain times. But here's the fun little hint for everyone. That's always been the case. Every once in a while I'll have someone think, oh man, 2025 is crazy, right? And like, yeah, so was 2024. So was 1924. So was 1324. So is every year. Because we are humans and we bump into each other and we do all sorts of messy things. This is why Jesus came. To heal humans who make a mess of their own lives and hurt other people. That's precisely why you are called, you and I are called, not to sit and worry, but to rest our hearts in the Good Shepherd. Jesus in Matthew says it like this, I will tell you, why are you worrying about your life? I could just probably stop there and just have you kind of process that for yourself. Why are you so worried? Why do you worry about your life? What you're going to eat or drink, or about your body, what you wear? Is not life more than food, and the body more than clothes? Look at the birds of the air. If you haven't noticed, they are all over the place right now. They do not sow or reap or store away in barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not much more valuable than they? A rhetorical question. You are much more valuable than they, is what Jesus is saying there. You are so much more valuable. Can any of you, by worrying, add a single hour to your life? Therefore, do not worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow will worry about itself. How much angst do you have in your life right now? How often in your day do you just feel this churning inside of you about whatever? How is that working for you? Is all of that churning helping you in your Christian life? Helping you find God, rest in God? Helping you love people in the way God really wants you to love people? These things in this world that we find so worrisome and so fragile are really not all that terrifying in light of a God that is always present with you. You are valuable. So therefore there's hope. The outlook changes. If you really want to go this direction, you will find yourself delivered from fear. You will not be cowering. You will just know that there is a God that is holding you, caring for you. You begin to understand these words very practically. He maketh me lie down in green pastures. When we talk like this, I hope you get a sense of calm. He maketh me lie down in green pastures. Let's pause for a moment right now. Let me just ask you to do something. Just right here, take a moment. Maybe close your eyes. Just put yourself in this kind of restful place. See yourself in the most relaxed position. I know these chairs aren't the most relaxing, but just try to put yourself, your body, your spirit in a relaxed position. And simply tell Jesus you trust him. Don't think about any of the things that are bringing you angst and worry. Just say, Jesus, I trust you. And as you say that, a question will come up on the screen. What fear is bringing unrest to my soul? Maybe repeat that to yourself. What fear is actually bringing unrest to my soul? And voice that fear to God. Just say that to God. Say, God, this is what I'm afraid of. I'm having a really hard time calming myself in green pastures. And I'm asking you, God, that I trust in you, and I'm asking you to give me rest internally. As we start to deal with our inner self during Lent, we then remind ourselves also that sheep have some other issues. It's not just fear internally. Sheep also need freedom from conflict, and it is the Good Shepherd that provides it. Sheep are fascinating in this way. In a pen full of chickens, you kind of know there's this quote-unquote pecking order, right? Probably heard this. It's kind of, we'll peck each other until we see whoever is dominant and whoever's least. So it kind of has this nice order. So you could have 100 chickens and goes, 1 all the way down to 100. Who's the least? Sheep do the same thing, but there's no pecking. Sheep are awesome. And you can, again, go watch this on YouTube. It's pretty cool. They will, like, these adult rams, they will butt each other with their foreheads. Even the little ones do this, the tiny ones. They just come in and argh. They learn from a very young age that you want to be dominant. The more domineering, the older you tends to be the boss of all the sheep. So here's what happens. There's a nice place to graze. There's green pastures. A sheep who doesn't belong, who isn't quite good enough, doesn't quite measure up, comes and starts grazing in the green pastures. The older you comes over and just starts butting their head until they finally get out of the green pastures, and then the ewe just kind of settles in and says, this is my place. And then that other sheep, he goes around. until everybody gets where they're supposed to be, from the best to the least. The last gets the worst spot to graze in the field. And if a sheep then tries to go and find a new place to shelter, goes far away even to find good grass, eventually that same ewe will come and find them and butt them out of it, just to let them know you don't belong. You are not good enough. Every member of a herd is out for themselves. It fills the air with conflict and jealousy. Beyond the fear that they have inside, now they have to deal with everyone else, and they're edgy, and they're tense, and they're restless. You will see an entire sheep, a herd of sheep, half of them will start losing weight. They'll start to look unhealthy, and it doesn't take long. But when the shepherd's present, it all stops. As soon as that shepherd is around, all the foolish rivalries end. It is this graphic picture of the struggle we have as humans. This need to want approval, to feel good enough, to say we belong, that we're okay. But we lose the ability to rest in Christ when conflict persists. Because we're fighting for status, we're fighting for our little piece of grass, our place. This struggle we have for self-assertion and self-recognition, it doesn't seem to end on its own. We need help. We can't do this on our own. This usually starts within our own families when we are young. There's usually somebody that's in competition with us, or we're in competition with them. We don't like to admit it. It sounds kind of immature as we get older, but we all kind of know a name if you really start thinking about it. The son does not get approval of a father. The father never comes and says, hey, you're okay, you can stay in these green pastures. A daughter has an overly critical mother and goes into adulthood never feeling like they know how to belong, to be good enough, to be okay. Often this shows up in sibling rivalry that continues into adulthood, as people who have sibling rivalries then start to have rivalries with others. By the time we are adults, conflict seems to be everywhere if we start looking for it. Our families, our friends, our school, our work. We're just like the sheep. We're really no different. And then in contrast to this, we have the picture of God's people who are supposed to be lying down in green pastures. How do you do that when you have all of this? I think of another animal, the cow, who chews the cud for hours. This is what we do when we have conflict with someone, when we're struggling, when we have jealousies, when we have rivalries. We just chew. We don't know how to let it go. But we're trying to take a new position in Lent. That the shepherd is near you even now. The shepherd is right next to you. The shepherd does not want these rivalries to continue. That Christ wants to deliver you from tension and cruel competition. That we can be done fighting for recognition and approval. That we can stand on our own 2 feet and say, I think I'm okay. Because at my core, I belong to something so important. I belong to the Church of Christ. I belong to a group of people, even if they're complete strangers, who are heading towards the same mission as I am. That we are found in the presence of Christ himself, that things have changed. I believe the Good Shepherd Jesus has great compassion for the lonely, if you feel lonely, for the weak, if you feel weak, and for the troubled sheep, if you feel troubled, because you get butted about by others, or maybe you did when you were younger, and you still feel the pain of it. And I think we have all felt this in some way. I've known a wide swath of humans, and everybody has this in some way. Whether it be physically, or materially, or emotionally, or relationally, or spiritually. And there is the Good Shepherd saying, I have so much love for you. I I do not abandon you. I want you to lie down in the green pastures. And by the way, just kind of a cool little aside, this is how God describes his desire for the lonely sheep. This is exactly how he describes it. It's the same way Jesus does it later in Luke 15. This is how God describes it through the prophet Ezekiel. He says, I myself, God, I myself will tend to my sheep. I'm covering you. And I will have you lie down. You're okay. You're okay. Declares the sovereign Lord. And by the way, if you feel lonely and troubled and weak, I will search for you. I am coming after you relentlessly. You keep running away from me? Fine. I'm not going away from you. I am on your heels because I am searching for the lost because I want to bring back the strays. I want you to be found once again. So let's pause here for a moment again. Let's take a moment again. Maybe close your eyes again, as we did before. As you did before, I'd encourage you to tell Jesus you trust him. Just say it. I trust you. And then consider this question. What conflict is bringing unrest to my soul? My guess is it won't take too long for you to find one. What conflict right now is bringing unrest to my soul? And name that conflict. Maybe name that person or that situation in your prayer to God. And as you do so, one thing I'll say, maybe ask God to help you understand the boundaries that may be needed between you and a person that is very difficult, or healing needed in a relationship that should be close. And process the difference between those two things. I was just telling my daughter this morning, I said it's kind of fascinating. People who like to complain and kind of whine about things, you seem to find other people who like to complain and whine about things. And they all get in this little circle and they complain and whine about things. And people who don't like to complain and whine about things, positive people, they kind of come into that and they go, oh, I don't really want to be around that. And stay over here. And then I said, if you ever kind of really look around and you realize there's no positive people, really positive people in my life, it's because they've probably all audited their circle and left you. And I don't mean that to be rude. I mean that to say, oh, I should probably look in the mirror. What's going on with me? Who do I need to have boundaries with? And who do I need to bring closer? And do it appropriately. And I close with the final thing the Good Shepherd provides, which is the freedom to slow down. You can slow down. He maketh me lie down in green pastures. I will say most of the great sheep countries in the world are actually pretty dry and arid places. And most breeds of sheep actually like that. It's a kind of an enjoyable place for them. It keeps insects away, which is really helpful. It also, for them, they're able to kind of withstand some diseases that they would get in other more lush environments. But there are not green pastures in the areas that sheep go. That was a picture I'm putting up there. That's Palestine. That is actually right in the heart of Bethlehem. This is where David wrote Psalm 23, right there. Might have been a hill just like that. He writes Psalm 23, right in the heart of where Jesus would be born about 1,000 years later. And he is in these pastures, but they're not green. They are dry and brown and sunburned. They are a wasteland, really. So what do we do when we hear about green pastures? Well, these do not just happen by chance in these areas. Green pastures are the product of tremendous labor and skill and time. The shepherd would have to work and work really hard to provide something for the sheep. Green pastures only come about when the shepherd would clean rough and rocky land, tear out brush, tear out whole roots and stumps, back-breaking kind of work, deep sowing of the land, careful soil preparation, followed by seeding and planting and proper irrigation, and all of this tremendous toil and skill is what the Good Shepherd would do for his sheep. Otherwise, they would starve. They would not have any place to rest. If the sheep were to enjoy green pastures, it meant the shepherd had to do a tremendous amount of work. And I tell you, Jesus is doing that exact kind of work in your life right now. He's trying to remove the rocky paths that make it hard for you to get to him right now. He's trying to let you know those feelings you have of not being good enough, of being criticized too much, of not getting the approval you really desperately wanted. He's trying to clear paths right now to put irrigation there, to flow water in springtime and let you know you are loved, you are beloved by God. God is doing work because he knows life is hard. There is difficulty and struggle, and none of us knows what troubles may come today or tomorrow, what hazards may be on the horizon, but God is at work in you. And I always think of this verse, that's what I want to close with. I've been talking a lot about Romans 8 over the last few months. I'm just going to pull back one of those little verses. We know that in all things God works for the good. I just love that phrase, God is working for the good. This is such a massive theological concept that I'm going to give you in about 20 seconds. That there is a whole theology that understands that God is causing everything in the world. So you've got God here causing everything to happen, good and bad. And even the bad, God has a reason for because it's taking you to some good thing. This is an extremely difficult thing to understand. It makes God look like he is destructive and doing hard things to people. I do not see God like that. I do not see that God from Genesis 1 all the way to Revelation. That is not my understanding of the God we have. My understanding of the God we have is we are broken people in a broken world, and we break each other quite a bit. And so what happens, and if you go and look at the Greek of this was mistranslated in the King James Bible in 1611, and it became a misunderstanding of theology. But if you go back and you look at the Greek of this is the way this talks. And just so you understand, there is God, yes, over all things. But because you are broken and I am broken, bad things seem to happen. God is not doing the bad things. He's not putting a bunch of stumbling blocks in front of you to go, well, let's just see what happens. They're just happening. It's brokenness everywhere. Your heart, my heart, our heart. Everyone you run into today, broken people, lost and lonely, looking for something. And what this verse is saying, Romans 8 is saying, is on the other side of the pain, there is God working for good out of whatever is going on in your life. God is on this side, always working, toiling, trying to make things work for you. Why is this important? It's super important because not only does God find you valuable, not only does God love you, but God is always bringing hope from hopeless situations. God is always bringing love and grace to despairing places. Whatever you are going through in your life, do not need to compare it to anybody else, just your stuff. It is because of a broken world. And over here, God is saying, come to me. I want to work for your good. I desire to work for your good. So as Josh comes to lead us in worship and we take the Eucharist together, I'm going to ask you again to pause for a moment as we prepare to go to the table. And allow yourself one more time to just be in prayer with God. And so close your eyes again if you would like. And maybe simply tell God, I trust you, God. Just say it again. I trust you. A simple question will come up. Where do I need to just slow down? Where do I need to rest? Is it one of those fears we were talking about earlier? Or a conflict that needs boundaries or healing? Maybe it's that your mind is worrying too much about the unknown. Maybe you're physically and mentally just worn down. Your spiritual tank closer than ever to empty. Where do I need to slow down? And so take some time with God now. And just respond to him with that question. And as you stay in prayer and whenever you're ready, go and respond to God at the table today. The tables are at the front, and they're a place where we go and we make our response to a God who is once again saying, come and be a part. You belong, you're okay, I love you, you're valuable. There's bread there for his broken body that he let go of for you, what we will celebrate on Good Friday. There is wine and juice there for you to dip that bread into and bring into your body, and that represents the blood of Christ, which flowed for us because you are valuable. If you're a guest with us or pretty new to the journey, the communion table, it is open to you. We want you to go do work on yourself with God. We want you to go and wrestle with God if you need to. Just say thank you for your love, God. Be found again in God's acceptance and grace. So as we prepare to go to the table, if you'll pray with me. God, as we once again, as we do every single Sunday, we come to that table as the close of our service, God, because we want to take you with us this week. We want Lent to be not just a reminder each week, but a daily, hourly reminder that you're in our life. So Lord, we desire today, we want to lie down in green pastures. We want to trust in you with our fears, with our conflicts, with our restless souls. And so God, as we come to the table, we do so with so much gratitude for your life, Christ, for your death, Christ, and for the resurrection that brings springtime again, that brings hope. It's in your name, Christ, we pray these things. Amen. The tables are open.